Wanted to briefly introduce myself. My name is Dave Martin. I am a transplant from Midwest USA out here to the great mountain state of Colorado. I don't know if it's really called that. We're just going to go with it. Where my wife hails from originally, Denver. Been here at Givebutter about 2 years, bit of a misnomer. I've been working and collaborating with the founders for about, oh gosh, maybe 5, 6 years. Um, Love the work that we're doing here. Been in nonprofit land for not quite 2 decades, so we'll just settle it 15. Womp womp. Been doing this thing for a while. Nonprofits are in my blood. Been in and around them my whole life. Founded a nonprofit 6 years ago. We've been pushing really aggressively in digital media, new media, and particularly millennial and Gen Z strategies. So if you do want to connect with me on LinkedIn, go ahead and reach out here directly. If you're viewing on a phone, this might be a little less intuitive, but if you're viewing on a screen, you can go ahead and scan that QR code. That will throw you to my LinkedIn and you can add me. Love to follow up with you. I own sort of like new account management over here at Givebutter. So if you are a nonprofit considering raising or using Givebutter, I'd be the person to reach out to. All right, let's boogie. Today's agenda. We are going to have a pretty exceptional session here with our friend Lynne. We are going to start with a great presentation, great number of slides, a great body of information. You will be able to ask questions and leave comments in the chat. We will be curating those and actively working to resolve those, boil those up. And if we don't get to them during the session while Lynne is actively presenting, we're going to have a live Q&A at the end. And then we will conclude our session with some reminders, wrap-up items, etc. One big sort of banner reminder, housekeeping wise for everyone, the recording and the slides will be emailed to you afterwards. So do not stress, do not worry. Sigh of relief. You don't need to ping us and say, hey, will these be available afterwards? They will. If you're a latecomer and you missed this message, pass Davis saying, hey, we got you covered. We're going to go ahead and send these goodies to you afterwards. Please use the Q&A chat as your primary environment to ask questions. So write those down on a notepad or store those off to a side. We love engagement, so keep thumbsing up each other, collaborating, answering each other's questions as you see them boil up as well. And just as a note, probably goes without saying, but we seek to foster a psychologically safe, respectful, and kind environment in the chat and everything we do, not just as a brand, but here as a community building of which you all are sort of the body of that today. So yeah, let's boogie. I'm excited to see what today holds for us. For those who don't know who Givebutter might be, or what is represented by my wonderful Givebutter pun merch, or this big old yellow thing on the wall, Givebutter is the world's most loved and easiest to use all-in-one fundraising solution. Sure, I'm a little bit biased, but I also been doing this for a long time. Have helped thousands of nonprofits get into this tech. Here's my fervent belief: every nonprofit in the U.S. can benefit from some aspect of our technology stack. So yeah, it's exciting and sexy that we have 175 some odd features, but when it comes to value and the benefits your nonprofit or org might reap, that might need to be a little bit tailored. So dive in. Signing up is free. Whole product and platform. No fee, no contract to get started. You can go and explore starting today. But don't just take my word for it. Obviously, the guy covered in Givebutter swag is going to be a shill for it. Go to g2.com, read the reviews, read why people love it, use it, how they use it, et cetera, et cetera. Again, we can take some Q&A at the end as well. All right, poll time. We're gonna wake up those brains and do some mental yoga real quick. All right, question about donor acknowledgement and gift management. What is your org's average time between a gift and a donor acknowledgement? Now, I'm asking acknowledgement sort of bucketed as this could be an email, it could be a letter, it could be a phone call, it could be a postcard, text, it could be a stuffed teddy bear, it could be chocolate bar with your face on it. I don't know. What is that average turnaround time look like today? And don't feel like you need to bloat this number or trim it down, as it were. Be honest. Share. So we range from 1 to 5. 1 immediately, and this is probably going to be a robot doing it. No matter how much I love my donors at my org, I cannot give them an immediate acknowledgement the second that they give a gift, unfortunately. This could range all the way down to 5. We don't send acknowledgements at all yet today, Dave. That's why we're here. We need help. Please help. Cry from beyond. We need to do better, and we know it. As a note, so my org uses Givebutter every day. Givebutter is assisting tens of thousands of nonprofits around the world. Yeah, we will offer resources here. There's I want to just shout out to a couple of our wonderful resources and white pages that exist that can also share about strategy, or maybe if you are using Givebutter, how what some of those best practices might look like. But all right, I'm seeing the numbers rolling in. Looks like we're ranging maybe right there in the middle. Looks like we've got now over 40% of responses living at the 1 week mark. Fewer, 22% are living in immediate land or in 1 day land. A segment showing about 1 month, and then a handful of folks are showing that we don't send acknowledgements at all. Appreciate your transparency. Hopefully Lynne's call to action and expertise will inform us right the heck how we can do that better. I'm gonna go ahead and move us on. Feel free to keep applying to that pool. We'll leave that up. We'll post those results afterwards, but we're gonna go ahead and hit pause on that for now. All right, so contextually, what are we talking about? Talking about acknowledgements. But I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out here. Claudia is smiling emphatically, knows exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, we've got
Givebutter, thank you so much.
Hit it.
Great introduction over here. So I'm really glad that you put that poll up. I think it's really great to see where people are. Heavy in the middle over here of, we don't quite immediately send out that engagement letter. So we are excited to introduce how to make it really easy with Givebutter's mailings feature. So this is your hassle-free solution to direct mail fundraising. So in just one single flow, you can easily segment your audience. You can craft custom donor letters, and then you can have Givebutter handle the printing, the stamping, and the sending. It is available right now in your Givebutter dashboard. Now, if you prefer the DIY route, you can absolutely go on, still create and format your own custom letters for free using Givebutter just by selecting that self-service option there. Now, Dave, if you wouldn't mind moving on over to the next slide, we have a surprise for you all. Awesome. 2 thumbs up, Dave. So we actually have a special offer for all of you for joining us today here. You can get 25% off your next Givebutter mailing, the automated mailing where we do everything for you, just by simply using this promo code mailings25. It is valid until December 31st, which means it is perfect for your Giving Tuesday outreach. It is perfect for your end of year outreach as well. So definitely jot down this promo code. We'll send you the recording afterwards so you can steal this deal here. And next, that's not all. We have so much more coming down the pipeline here. So we are also going to offer ticket bundling, which is a great way to simplify and customize your ticket checkout process. And it also results in less manual tracking for your team here. Now, bundles allow donors and event attendees to purchase multiple of the same ticket or different types of tickets in one single transaction. So I know a lot of you have been asking for this. So for those of you hosting a golf outing, for those of you who are hosting sponsorships or table tickets, this is going to make it so much easy for you here. And speaking of selling tickets, Dave, we have another surprise in store for everyone. We do it all, y'all. Speaking of selling tickets, you'll soon be available to sell tickets right through your Givebutter app. So coming soon. So in addition to using the Givebutter mobile app to scan tickets at your in-person events, you now can also offer the opportunity for your supporters to buy tickets at the door of your event, giving them a seamless purchasing experience. They can use their credit or debit card. They can use tap to pay as well. And all of that information is going to flow automatically into your into your CRM for future engagement over here. And then last but not least, really wonderful announcement over here for you all. Givebutter is giving back again. It is Black Philanthropy Month, and Givebutter is going to give $10,000 to Black-led nonprofits. A couple of you, I've seen some familiar names in the chat. I've seen you at these campaign reviews here. Our mission is to uplift Black communities here. So 10 campaigns, so 10 Givebutter customers are going to be chosen as the most engaging campaign and will receive $1,000 to put towards their mission. So more information there. You can scan that QR code over here You can submit your application, join us for our campaign workshops, and we just want to see you flourish, y'all, and of course, uplift our Givebutter community here. Thanks.
Amazing. Thank you, Claudia. Wow. This I just want to shout out represents so much hard work behind the scenes by our product teams, our support teams, our success teams, our training teams, Claudia's team. So know that your voices are heard, that we take that public facing roadmap really seriously. I know Grace shouted it out. So if you do have any product related questions, make sure you go and check out our public facing roadmap. All right, it is game time, everybody. I am so amped and delighted to introduce our wonderful, knowledgeable expert of a speaker today, Lynne Wester. I will give the probably unabashed, braggy, but brief version about Lynne before we bring her up on stage. Lynne is a traveler, and I think even right now is gallivanting around the world, just helping, and she was all over doing wonderful things. Lynne is the founder and principal over at the Donor Relations Group. If you've not given them a follow yet or been on their website, please do so. They're doing incredible, incredible things. Now, although I mentioned Lynne's affinity for travel, confessedly, I had to look up what polyglot was. At first, I thought it sounds like a really awesome Pokemon, or it's just vocabulary I didn't pick up in undergrad at some point. Lynne, I'm going to bring you up on stage. Before you give your introduction, you got to tell me, how many languages do you speak? I'm going to add you the spotlight. I'm going to say, it's party time. Lynne, brag on yourself for a second. We know you've got the fundraising acumen. How many languages do you speak?
I speak 4 fluently and 7 well enough to get by. So foreign
Amazing.
languages my major were foreign languages and my minor was African American studies in college. So
Amazing. Well,
yeah.
is it too cringy if I say undoubtedly the other language of yours we'll be discussing in depth today is that of donor acknowledgements, right? Is
Gratitude.
that a thing? It's
Gratitude, I
gratitude.
think, was
Amazing.
the first language I learned along with Spanish. So I spoke Spanish before I spoke English. My mom wanted to make sure that we understood the importance of languages. And for most Americans, that's a rare thing. But then when you go to other countries, you realize 3 to 4 languages is actually quite common.
Totally. That's table stakes. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it
Well,
is.
I'm gonna again unabashedly encourage people to follow you on LinkedIn because of your content and because you're making moves and shaking and doing the dang
Trying.
thing. I'm gonna go ahead and stop my screen share. I'm gonna pass it to the pro. I'm gonna let you take it from here, folks. I'm gonna jump and be helping govern a little bit of the chat as well. And Lynne, when you are ready, the floor is
Awesome.
yours. We are so excited to learn from you. The time
Thanks.
is yours.
Thanks for having me and welcome everyone. If we haven't met before, it is absolutely my pleasure. So excited to be here with you all today. As you'll know, we will send you the recording in the slides. So feel free to deputize yourself if somebody asks that question to answer it yourself and help them out. But we are going to talk about acknowledgments today, which is one pillar in the 4 pillars of donor relations. There's even a book titled that if you're curious and want to spend some time on Amazon. But we are talking about acknowledgement today, and we're going to talk both about tax receipting and acknowledgements. It was very enlightening for me to see your polls. I have been working in nonprofit fundraising for about 20-something years when I started when I was 9, after a career at Walt Disney World. And I'm really excited to share some tips and tricks for thanking your donors and really incorporating gratitude in your work. Feel free to ask questions at any time as long as they pertain to thanking donors. And I will try to answer as many of those live as I can. I think it's very important to first understand why we're doing what we're doing. So the first is understanding what is the purpose of an acknowledgement when it comes to fundraising. So acknowledgements really have 2 purposes. That is to thank the donor for their gift and who they are as a human being, and to make them feel good about the act of generosity. So we know that people have a choice of whether or not to be generous. And when they choose to be generous to us and our organizations, it is our responsibility to give that gratitude. The most important elements of an acknowledgement are timeliness and accuracy. I received most of my knowledge when it comes to acknowledgements. I have a master's in fundraising and strategic philanthropy, but Penelope Burke's Donor-Centered Fundraising, if you haven't read it, go and order that off of Amazon or from your local bookseller. But she has all the statistics around that donors expect to be thanked 7 times for every gift before we ask them for money again. Acknowledging donors should be a consistent and positive donor experience, right? So we want to make sure that it's as error-free as possible and as timely as possible. So those are the things that we're going to focus on today. But first, a little background and a little bit of information for you. So I'm going to type the names of the book in the chat for you while I'm talking. So a tax receipt and an acknowledgement are not the same thing. And I want you to understand that as a nonprofit organization. So a tax receipt, for those of us in the United States, is required by the IRS. For those in Canada, the CRA, and in other countries, you have regulatory bodies that require those when people make a philanthropic contribution to your organization. It's a transaction for the gift that they gave. Ideally, if they're giving online, and Givebutter has this feature, we've been using it. We have the privilege to work with the Hawaii Community Foundation in the Maui Strong fundraising efforts. As you know, it's been a year and a few days since Maui was devastated by fires, and they received over 250,000 individual donations. And Givebutter has been able to help us do that by providing instantaneous receipts. Those are not thank yous. That is a receipt that tells the donor that we've received their gift and the amount of the gift and the purpose that it went to. It also includes tax language. So, and that's covered in IRS document 1771, right? And it should also include genuine thank you or genuine mahalo, for my Hawaiian friends out there, genuine gratitude, but it does not replace an acknowledgement. So a tax receipt is the first touch that most of your donors are going to receive from your organization. And by and large, even if a donor mails in a gift, we can still send them a digital tax receipt. Remember, for those of us in the United States, the IRS doesn't accept paper mailed tax returns. So digital receipts are the way to go there. It's a great way to streamline your process and get them out the door. Again, if you're using Givebutter's platform, you can modify the tax receipt and make sure that it goes out instantaneously. It is not a replacement for a thank you. Tax receipts should go out within immediate 24 to 48 hours. Ideally, 72 is pushing it from the receipt of the gift. So the time you receive the check, the time they make the credit card payment, the time they transfer the money from their donor advised fund, whatever it may be. The thank you or the acknowledgement should be sent ideally within 5 to 7 days of the receipt of the gift. That is a separate communication. It's one of your 7 touches that every donor is expecting before you ask them for more money. It should never, ever include the amount of the gift, and the primary focus should be on gratitude for the donor. So a lot of people ask me, well, why don't we include the dollar amount in a thank you? So growing up, I have the most amazing mother. She's fantastic. And I had to write handwritten notes for every present I ever received, even from Santa Claus, my Barbie dream house with the string. I had to say thank you to Santa. And never once did I ever write the dollar amount, right? So that's why it doesn't belong. So I have this theory on thanking. If you wouldn't do it to your Meemaw or your Peepaw, then you wouldn't do it to a donor. So you would never say, "Dear Meemaw, thank you so much for my Cabbage Patch doll, valued at $49.99." Right? So money doesn't belong with gratitude. Money belongs in the transactional, right? So we're going to split those, and we have 2 opportunities to thank the donor. If you're not yet doing that, no worries. You still have the opportunity to split those receipts and thank yous. And if you're contemplating, well, I don't know, we're a small nonprofit, we don't have those kinds of resources. My thought is, if you can't afford a second stamp or you don't want to spend those resources, then maybe you don't need to accept the gift. So donors deserve to be thanked, right? So we don't ever want to include dollar amounts though in our thank yous. That's what the receipt is for. And then a touch later for what you've done with the money, that's stewardship, right? Is here's the impact of your support. So we're going to walk through some examples. So here's an example of an online gift. And the reason that I like this tax receipt is it includes a video. It also includes social sharing. As you can tell, it's a little old because it doesn't have X for Twitter. It still has the T for Twitter. But when I find a good example, I stick with it. It has all of the details needed, and it has the IRS language that no goods or services was received at the bottom. So fantastic. So Shireen, thank you for your feedback. You said if a charity thanked me 7 times for the same gift, I would be very annoyed and be disinclined to ever donate to that charity again. Not talking about 7 thank you notes, Shireen, but we need to communicate with our donors without asking. So that contact could be an update on impact. That contact could be a phone call or a text message. It's 7 points of contact without an ask. It's not 7 thank you letters, but I understand your interpretation of that to be literal. And so I'll be more clear next time. Thank you so much for that, right? And again, when we thank donors, exactly, Terry and Gloria, 7 touches without an ask. We want to primarily communicate with donors in the channel in which they gave. So if a donor made their gift online, that is their strong desire and preference for communication. So we could text, we could send an email, we could send a video, we could do a digital contact. If I mailed in a check, then maybe a phone call or a letter or a note in the mail, right? So again, really good. Now I have some people saying, well, I didn't make that time frame. It's never too late to thank a donor as long as you also don't have your hand out asking for more. So if we go back to the Meemaw and Peepaw principle, we would never say, dear Meemaw, thank you so much for my Cabbage Patch doll for Christmas. But by the way, my birthday coming up and Rainbow Bright looks really cool. Can I have some Rainbow Bright, Meemaw? Your Meemaw would never give you another gift. So we don't want to do that. So never, ever do we do a task, right? Never thank and ask in the same breath. It's rude. And we don't want to do that. We want to, yes, Glory, it's rude. We don't want to do that. So again, here's an example of a printed tax receipt, right? So this is an example of just a simple fold over tax receipt. It can take any shape, right? So Krista asked, can you not ask but include donation envelope for their choice? So a donation envelope is an ask. It's the hardest of hard asks. And what we find is that when people hurry up and try to get a second gift, that their retention rates plummet. The number one reason why donors don't stay is because they're asked too often and for too much money. So we would never put a return envelope in our handwritten note to Meemaw saying thank you and say, can I have more presents shipped to me, right? So again, not something we really want to do. And I will tell you that the most important thing about the acknowledgement is its promptness. The timeliness of an acknowledgement is the most important thing, right? So we don't want to combine a tax receipt and a thank you. We want to communicate, here's your tax receipt, thank you for your gift, and then here's your acknowledgement. And acknowledgements can take many forms. So I'm going to show you some examples of those. Here's a good online thank you, but it's missing personalization. What it does have is a lovely story, right? What it does have is a great image, right? But what we don't want to do is we don't want to include another ask. So this is lovely. It would be even better if it came from a human being. So if you knew and if you knew, if we knew who this came from and it was addressed to me, y'all, it's 2024. Every single email platform including Givebutters, because we use them for Maui Strong, as the ability for you to put in a person's first name or personalize it. And so we don't ever want to send an email without personalization. Now, if your generous donor were so wise as to set up a recurring donation, we want to send a tax receipt and a thank you on the first donation. We don't want to thank them every month if they've set up recurring donations, but we do want to, at the beginning of the year, right before February, send them a total of all their gifts. So a one comprehensive tax receipt, right? So again, that's an opportunity. So again, no reply devices in tax receipts, no envelopes in thank yous. That's a task, and that's a huge no-no. It's the number one turnoff of people who, so our current first-time donor retention rate is only 20%. Only 20%. So that's the number one reason why donors don't give the second gift. So with recurring donors, because I give monthly, I know many of you have monthly recurring gift programs. I like a quarterly touch. It could be a video, it could be a text, but it doesn't need to be, dear so-and-so, thank you for your gift this month. That will be really inundated and really kind of overdone. So you don't want to do that. Here's an example of a thank you. It has visuals, right? Obviously, salutation is not that person's name. You want to do their name there, right? You want to talk in positive language about the donor. You did something really special, right? And making the donor feel good about the decision that they've made to give to your organization, right? And again, printed, but on a smaller piece of paper. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So Helen says, you mentioned tax receipt for monthly donor at first gift. And then and then I also do it in January heading into February for their total, right? So that's what I do. So that's best practice, right? So Rashada asked, what about anonymous donors? So anonymous does not equate don't steward. So anonymous does not equate don't steward. So Rashada, it's a great question. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, but I can thank donors because that's going personally to them. I don't want to recognize them publicly because they've opted to stay anonymous. So again, that thanking behavior, you can do that all day long with an anonymous donor, and we want to. So here's what we want to do, and yay for some syllabification there. So here's our timing. Acknowledgements must be timely. I live in a good, better, best world. Not everybody deals with an ideal scenario. Not everybody has a perfect nonprofit. Not everybody has staff and resources, right? So here's my opportunity for you. Good, better, best, right? And some of you know the mantra, good, better, best, never let it rest until your good is your better and your better is your guest, right? So best should be an acknowledgement in whatever way they gave within less than a week. Right. That's the whole gold standard. That's the hallmark. We know that timeliness is more important than what's in the letter. Good, within 3 weeks. If you're not thanking your donors within less than 2 to 3 weeks, you should stop what you're doing and reevaluate. Y'all, year end is coming. We've already, like, my team and I have already done our Giving Tuesday plans for our clients. We're getting ready to do our end of year campaigns. Get your acknowledgments sorted before you get your volume of gifts. Donors expect to be thanked, and they have the right to expect that gratitude. And it's our job to provide them with that amazing opportunity. And notice I have not said at a dollar amount. It doesn't matter, the dollar amount. It doesn't matter. Now, you may do different behaviors for different dollar amounts. That's up to you. I like to believe in diversity, inclusion, and equity, belonging, and justice, which means that I don't care if you give a penny or if you give $100 million, you deserve gratitude, and I'm going to provide it for you. And A $10 first-time gift is just as important as a recurring $10,000 gift, because I'm not judging people based and dividing their worth based on how much they can give. It's either I'm going to thank generous people. That's where I'm going to spend my time, because the best future donor is the donor you already have. So don't come and preach to me about DE&I on your website and all your policies if you're not thanking a $10 donor the same way you're thanking a $1,000 donor. So little lecture time from Lynne. So I have my white rabbit here. He's always late, never on time. What's more important, a personalized letter or a prompt letter? When Penelope Burke of Donor Centered Fundraising asked donors, prompt, 100 times over. That doesn't mean rushed. That means prompt. That means making sure that you're processing your donations and you're thanking them in a prompt manner, that is your number one priority, thanking donors over other items, right? Gotta make sure that prompt is happening. So for printed, what's the best format? Well, I've got a good, better, best for you. Good, you can print on a regular sheet of paper. Let's see, I think in Canada and Australia, New Zealand, you guys call it an A4. 8.5 by 11. We like inches in America sometimes. Better would be a pre-printed card, personally signed. Best, I love a handwritten note or Monarch stationery. If you're wondering what Monarch stationery is, take an 8.5 and 11 and fold it in half. That's Monarch. And why do I like that? Because it requires a different envelope. For those of us in the United States, this fall is about to get $40 billion spent on direct mail, right? And so we know that the mailboxes are going to get crowded. So we want our mail to stand out. Never, ever, ever, ever do a label, and never, ever do a windowed envelope. Windowed envelopes mean bills. Labels mean I process 200 of these at once. And if a gift is given online, it should be thanked online. Here's why we don't do window envelopes. Here's why we don't do letterhead, right? Nothing good ever comes in a number 10 envelope. For those of you that don't do direct mail, this is a number 10 envelope. There's nothing like being 45 years old, sitting in your home and getting a sales brochure from a mortuary and being like, do they have some data issues or is it just me, right? So not a number 10 envelope. You want to stand out in the mail. If you're going to do mailed pieces, right, you really want to do something that's going to stand out. Now, it does not matter the generation. So we treat generations, which the harshest of stereotypes. If we talked about race the way we talked about age, we would be in some serious trouble, says the daughter of an 86 and 88-year-old who are always on their cell phones and their iPads and would not prefer print, where I would prefer print, right? My parents much prefer digital, right? So again, we don't want to pigeonhole people to say, oh, well, they're younger, so they want digital. That's actually not true. Our younger generations actually find print and handwritten novel. Hello, Etsy. And so again, we want to give that opportunity. You don't have to handwrite all the envelopes, but you can run them through your printer, Jessica. And that's one way for you to do that without handwriting. Again, you can send it through Givebutter mail and you can send your thank yous just like you send your direct mails, right? So I'm talking to you straight, folks. I'm trying to answer as many questions. Social media interaction with the donor does count as a touch. But yeah, Melinda says, I've converted my handwriting into a font, right? And it doesn't matter if you don't have great handwriting, right? Find a friend who does. So here's some tips for writing the thank you note. Again, we use the word acknowledgement. It's this big fancy word, but it really just means thank you note, folks. We are thanking the donor, not the gift. So we are not going to talk all about the gifts. So dear Mima, thank you for the candlesticks. They will hold my candles well. The candlesticks are bright and shiny. The candlesticks will make my house look good. I really like the store you got them from candlesticks from. I see you left the price tag on there. That's not what we talk about. Dear Mima, thank you so much for the candlesticks. I think of warmth when I think of you, and they are the perfect gift. I realize how thoughtful you were when you created this gift for myself and my partner, right? And if you're looking for a resource on how to write great thank yous, there's a great little book called With Gratitude. I'm going to type it in the chat, by Jennifer Richwine. And she teaches you how to write a thank you without saying thank you. So genuine and personal. We don't need institutional tone. We don't want it to be overtly formal. We want them to be personal. These are thank you notes, not letters, not from the desk of, like, again, it's a thank you note, people. Calm down, right? And yes, there are pretty thank you stamps. Great. Put them on a note card, right? Make it more personal, but let's let go of the business stationery idea. Whether I spell it correctly or not on the slide earlier in the typo I found, doesn't matter. Your thank you should be 3 to 4 sentences, right? 3 to 4 sentences, maybe 5. Folks, if you are filling an 8.5 by 11 letter with 8-point font, ain't nobody got time to read that. And here's a truth I will tell you. My first job was writing thank you notes for the president of a university. And my vice president, I was arguing with someone in the hallway about the word joyful, and she tapped me on the shoulder and later told me, you know, baby girl, 99% of your thank yous end up in the recycling bin. And I was like, what? You mean there's not donors with a mahogany box next to their bed with all the thank yous that I write? No. So we've got to get quick, to the point, and in a hurry, right? So 3 to 4 sentences. It is not the time to talk about upcoming events. It's not the time to tell them that the leaves are changing. None of that stuff. It is the time to thank the donor for the wonderful person that they are. We can tell a story to connect a donor to the impact. That's a great idea. Charity Water, Team Rubicon, and others do that really well. We can demonstrate impact. And if we're going to do a typed letter, like a form or something that we're merging, then we want to write a handwritten note at the bottom. Again, the personal touch is really, really important for our donors. So it's not just about what we say, it's about how we say it, right? So I was recently, on Monday, I was in Naples, Florida with my friends at the shelter for battered women and children. And it's a wonderful shelter and also a place for those who are experiencing human trafficking. And I love them. And we instituted behavior-based thanking a few years ago. So for first-time donors, they get certain thank yous. For loyal donors, they get other thank yous. And their volunteers are the ones that write all the handwritten notes. They have lovely volunteers with beautiful cursive, and they write them. So love that. So again, a great way to get your volunteers involved is they don't have to sit on a board. They can help thank donors. In fact, for the boards that so I do a lot of board coaching and teaching. And I make every board member start their board meeting by writing 5 handwritten notes to first-time donors to thank them. So again, first-time donors are our most important population. So here's what we don't want to do. No generic text. Folks, I'm going to say this. I know everybody's all abuzz about AI. AI cannot write good donor thank yous. First of all, you should never put donor information into AI. It's not a confidential or safe place. What AI can do is maybe enhance the text you already have, but in the time you can write a proper prompt for AI, you could have just experienced and written about gratitude yourself. So AI is not going to write your thank yous. They're not going to replace that. It's not secure. Genuine expressing gratitude is a lifestyle. So we don't want to use AI. And folks, they sound like they're written by AI. Let me tell you, I do this for a living, right? Number two, you never want to brag about your organization or restate your mission statement. That is not what a thank you is for. We never want to include a task. We never want to sound cold or academic, right? So our language in a thank you should be warm. It should be loving, like, hey, you gave gratitude, you humble us. We want to use emotion words. So here's something to use AI for. Put your letter that you currently have into AI and say, please include more emotion in my thank you. You can do that. Or please, AI, list out 20 emotional words I should be using when I'm giving gratitude. But please do not use AI to write your thank yous. Ew, ew. And, or as the generation now says, that's a total ick. So that's a total ick. We don't want to send mixed messages. Your giving is important, but there's always more work to be done. Yes, that's why charities exist, right? We don't want to lead with numbers or statistics. 1 in 8 people will receive the slides for this webinar, right? We want to be personal, right? And not something that sounds institutional. A task, Carol, is a word that I invented when you combine a thank you and an ask. So dear Mima, thank you so much for the candlesticks for our wedding. We will use them to bring light to our house. By the way, I got knocked up on the honeymoon. How about some diapers, Mima? Unacceptable, right? Terry, you are singing my love language. You work at an animal shelter and you have the animals write the thank yous. Dude, get an ink pad and have them put their paw prints on them. You will raise money all day, all night, little rabbit paw prints, whatever it is. Jump on that, girl. You're doing a great job. So who sends the thank you? The best thank you comes from the person with the closest relationship with the donor, right? And Tony, the Mima and Peepaw fundraising tip book is written. I have 5 books on Amazon and in booksellers, and the T-Rexes versus kangaroos is the closest one. So yes, there's also a podcast. So Fundraising is Funny. If you want really inappropriate fundraising humor, go download Fundraising is Funny, but I'll stop plugging myself, right? Okay, so who should sign? The best person that signs is the person that receives the money or the closest relationship. The person with the biggest title, usually the donor hasn't met. So if I don't have a personal relationship with the donor, it's not really gonna matter, right? The donor wants to hear from someone who's benefiting. They want to hear from a genuine person. Donors love to hear from volunteers, right? They love to hear from people that they're making a difference with, right? And yes, can we please make sure the ink to put the dog's paws in, or cats or rabbits or horses, is non-toxic? Great point, everybody. Thanks for helping out. Sorry I didn't point that out. Volunteers, researchers, grateful patients, a human. Folks, people thank people. That's who needs to write the thank you, right? Layla asks a great question. Can a volunteer write the thank you note and sign someone else's name that is higher up in the organization? Layla, there is no one higher up in the organization than a volunteer. The volunteer is the higher up in the organization. And I know that some of you work in hierarchical organizations. Please don't do that. Have the volunteer sign it. What's more lovely than receiving a note from the person? I work a lot in universities and hospitals, and Lord, do we love a title. I mean, associate provost for blah, 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 blah. Nobody even knows what a provost does or is. Even the provost mama doesn't know what they do for a living. The title isn't the point. It's the humanness in the note, right? So that's what you want to do. It also doesn't have to be a letter, right? We've talked about digital thank yous. And when we're thinking digital thank yous, video, I love ThankView. If you haven't yet tried ThankView, thankview.com, they're my fave. I love a postcard. Now, for those of you in the United States, you're about to get hit hard with postcard this fall, but there's a reason that political campaigns use postcards. It's because they work, right? They require you to be a great editor, which again, you want to write well, write short. Social media, great idea. Also, text. So it can be a postcard like this one that has some nice photos. Why do I love postcards so much? Love postcards because they're affordable. You can get 5,000 of them printed for $82 on psprint.com. They stand out in the mail. They're cheaper to mail, and they're completely Instagrammable or fridgeable, unlike a letter, right? You don't have to open it. Why do you think political campaigns use them? They're effective, folks. They are. And I'm not trying to get political, just saying. Text is a valid communication channel in 2024, folks. This is when I gave a gift to Team Rubicon. I received the text on the right. Team Rubicon's water rescue teams are in Houston conducting search and rescue. You made this possible. Thank you. Excellent use of text. If you can't do that, that's your opportunity to maybe look into it, right? Hey, Linda, thanks for helping us preserve the redwoods last year. Here's a card to say thank you. Now, I would target these at digital donors. So remember, our goal is to get to 7 touches before we ask again. We've got the receipt. We've got a thank you. We can send a text. We can send a video. We can send an impact report, right? So anything you want, you could include. What we're not going to include is an additional ask for money, right? This is probably one of my favorite thank yous I've ever received, even though it doesn't have my name on it. So when I was living in, I think it was Texas, back when I lived in the United States, I received this for buying a teddy bear that supported Ronald McDonald Children's House. And I just love this because of the language that they used, right? Your thank you should not sound like Mad Libs. And if you don't know what Mad Libs is, you never had a road trip in the 80s. I did, and they were awesome. But thank you for surrounding our families with compassion, comfort, and care while their children were sick. Your generosity, not only throughout the holidays, but the entire year, reached every family that came through our doors. Thank you for being the power behind our work. We are deeply grateful. Y'all, that is 4 sentences of thank you magic. You feel absolutely gratified. I don't care. This is just well done, folks. Now, it can always get better. Remember, good, better, best. But it is really, really good language. If you're going to do an additional thank you, so we talk about tax receipts, we talk about acknowledgements. When you do your additional thank you, might I suggest you do it for first-time donors? Now, this first-time donor postcard and all of these samples are on our sample gallery. So we have 15,000 samples you can download on my website, and you can download them all for free. That's donorrelations.com. You can get all the samples you want for free, because here's the thing. Original ideas are overrated, y'all. Copy and steal somebody else's. Okay, we don't got time to be doing original things these days and having gymnastics move named for us. Take a first-time donor postcard you like, incorporate it into yours, and move on. So remember, we want to get to 7 thank yous, 7 touches. Exactly, Gloria. We don't want to reinvent the wheel, right? So again, first-time donors are your most crucial group to steward, right? And yes, CASE does stand for copy and steal everything. I've been a member for 22 years, right? So again, you know, we want to send multiple thank yous throughout our time before we ask again. First-time donors is one way to do that. You could also celebrate when a person gives their anniversary. So, hey, Lynn, it's been a year since you made your first gift, and we are still celebrating it, right? So again, another wonderful way to thank your donors is on the anniversary. So Victoria, if you've been struggling with gratitude, first of all, steal some ideas, focus on your first time donors, right? And you also want to think about what creative touches I can do that are low lift. Tell you what about that's I love about a first time donor welcome series is you only have to design it once. You only have to design it once because they're only going to ever get it once. So you could run this same postcard for 5 years. And if they send their donation in online, you turn this postcard into an email. Y'all, you don't have to work hard. You have to work smart and creatively, right? Smart and creative, surprise and delight. Remember, 85% of donors do not hear from a nonprofit once they make their gift and don't feel thanked for their gift, right? So it's our opportunity and our pleasure to do this. So we have learned today, and if you have any last questions, pop them in. We've got about 5 minutes left. I want to make sure. Yes, Gladys, there's tons of online postcards on our samples gallery, and there's videos. If you're going to do an online postcard, I'd rather you do a thank you. So there's a difference between a tax receipt and an acknowledgement or thank you note, right? Although our tax receipt should have gratitude language in it. It should be meaningful, personalized, and timely. But if I had to pick among those three, timely is the most important. Acknowledgement should only take 10 to 15% of one of your organization staff members. Everyone, volunteers, beneficiaries, docs, researchers should be included in the process. Acknowledgements can and should be more than a printed letter. Remember, we're going to thank in the way in which a donor gives, and we can and should acknowledge how a donor gives. So an auto receipt is a great start, but that's the receipt. We want to add on to that, right? So some of you said, well, I want more time. Well, Givebutter is sponsoring our consultathon. So our firm is dedicating 2 whole days to consulting, and Givebutter is sponsoring 15 hours of our consulting. So you can check that out on our website. We have tons of samples. I have books for you on Amazon. We have very affordable webinars for you. The website is donorrelations.com. And let me get you my contact information. Hopefully you at least got one nugget out of today so that you have one good takeaway. Those are my first 3 books. And Bobby, I love the needed, and I know you guys are my fans, so appreciate you. If you need to reach out to me, I'm on social at Donor Guru and Givebutter. I'm just so grateful to them, to our team there for helping me, and to my special Givebutter reps, Stephanie and those folks. So thanks everyone for joining me. I'm going to turn it back over to Dave and let him bring us home. Dave, will you take over from here?
Absolutely. Holy cannoli. I'm sitting over here. My mind and heart. I feel like the Grinch, where his heart sizes up 3 times. I feel like my brain just sized up 3 times. I know we're coming up on time. We'll jump and hit a couple highlights from the Q&A, but I just wanted to reiterate, I loved, and I'm gonna steal these sound bites. 1, the best future donor is the donor you have. Holy freaking crud. Amen. 2, everyone is worthy of an acknowledgement. Snaps in the chat, please. Every generation now prefers digital by majority, and the younger ones prefer written. Like, that's an unlock. Holy cow. And my nonprofit's even targeted toward younger donors. Holy cow. This is amazing. Took note of the books. Y'all, so if you were wondering what the titles of the books were that Lynne cited, they're in the QA under the answer tab. Or I know they were thrown throughout the chat. So we will call out a few of these questions that boiled to the top. Alrighty. Had an anonymous ask, do we have any resources and templates? Yes, tons. Lynne has, I think you said over 15,000.
Yep.
Holy granola. That amazing resource. Givebutter does as well, has many, many resources. Just go to the website and literally click resources. A lot of in-app best practices and prompts as well, and templates and things like that. We'll go ahead and resolve that one. Acknowledgement turnaround time had a bunch of questions around this one. Let's just go ahead and steal Lynn's framework here. Good, better, best. 1 week, 2 week, 3 week. You know, that I'd never heard the good, better, best to your good is better and your better is guest. Like, love that. That just hits right at home. One question I wanted to draw, because I saw this pop up in the chat about 20 times. So Lynn, maybe put your gospel stamp of approval here. A lot of people said, hey, you know, depending on the kind of info we get or the kind of gift that comes in, there might be this challenge between, you know, sending a separate tax receipt and thank you note. Is it okay if we do both in the same envelope? What's best practice here? I heard you say THASK many times. Before we wrap and give our final call to action, any concluding notes on that piece? What does the, again, summed up the best type of acknowledgement when you're limited on how you can get back to somebody?
A simple, humble thank you, right? Without an agenda. Treat your donors like you treat your friends, your family, everything else. If you think it's tacky or it's crass to do with your family members, that's why I use Mima and Peepaw. But if you wouldn't do that to other people in your life, then let's not do that with donors. And yeah, it makes it convenient, or yeah, you got a second gift, but what's the long-term impact of that? And that is ruining your retention. So why would you do that?
Amen. Wow. So well said. Do I have license that I can just steal all these goodies and go
Anytime.
share them with our like
Copy and
40,000?
steal. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. All right, squad. Again, can we just put like either snap emojis or clap emojis or just some good loving in the chat for Lynn, who just thinking crushed that. Truly, thank you for taking the time. Know you're a very in-demand person. You're traveling. You're all over the place. That means a lot to a lot of nonprofits here. I think at one point I saw almost 600 people there on the participant number. For everyone who attended, again, we're going to send this deck in the recording, but make sure that you register for this thing. These webinars are happening constantly. Tons of great experts, tons of great insights. It's free. Amazing. I love Lynn's ideology. We align there 100%. Make it free. You know, there's too much good stuff out there. Let's beg, borrow, steal, adopt. For y'all that don't know, we also have office hours, led by our wonderful Claudia and team, who do engagement at even a deeper level, one-to-one. We would love your feedback though. So we are going to be sending out that webinar feedback survey. Please take that. And if you don't know, there is a group that is quickly growing over on Facebook. We can dive in, interact, ask questions, get questions asked, et cetera, et cetera. Really great opportunity to network and meet some folks. I'm not an avid Facebook user, but have made some really formational relationships in the unlikeliest of places, Facebook included. So as a note, this does qualify for CFE credit. If you don't know what that means, head over to the website and learn more. This is the gold standard of fundraising credentials. CFRE, there is none higher. And it's just amazing to me that these webinars now count for that credit. Oh, love it. To sum up, thank you so much, Lynn. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Thank you for the great questions, for the engagement, for everything that y'all did to participate. We will be following up with these resources as well, opportunity to deliver feedback, and hope to see you on the next webinar, as well as any other opportunities that are around the corner to interact with the community. Thank y'all and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week.